Gabriel Jesus is quite frankly the most frustrating player ever. In this video, I'm going to talk about my frustration and probably the frustration of hundreds of millions of other Arsenal fans all around the world. We're going to be talking about his entire journey at Arsenal so far and just why he cannot catch a break. And that's just my feeling about Gabriel Jesus, and I know all of you feel like that as well. When you think about Jesus, right, and when you think about the moment and the time that he joined Arsenal, right, we were just coming off a season where we looked promising. We finished fifth and we bottled, obviously, the top four. Everyone remembers that game against Tottenham, right? When we signed Jesus, it was a real power play. It was a power switch, because in that summer, he was set to join Real Madrid from the information that I know, and that's probably widely circulating on the internet. I remember Real Madrid had a issue when it came to, I think, EU players. So Gabriel Jesus was free to join Arsenal. I remember they did the groundwork really early. I think the deal was basically done by April, which was actually funny because he scored 2 goals against Real Madrid in the semi-final, and then everyone was like, why would he join Arsenal? And he ended up joining. And in that summer, I think Arsenal just hit a new level. I remember Jesus' games in the preseason. I was like, damn, this guy is crazy. Remember the game against Everton. I then remember the game against Chelsea. And then I was like, okay, cool. We got a player on our hands, right? And then he played that game against Sevilla in preseason. I remember it was the Emirates Cup. I took my cousin from Canada to that game because obviously Emirates Cup tickets are really easy to get. And after that, I was like, wow, the guy scored a hat trick. The guy was playing like crazy. And then obviously the first game of the season came. Oh my God. We all remember that pink kit against Crystal Palace, and this guy cooked. In like the first 5 minutes, I remember Jamie Carragher on commentary was like, this guy is insane. Or was it Gary Neville? One of the two, right? They were just like, this guy is insane. And then he played against Bournemouth, and this guy was the reincarnation of R9. What I was watching Gabriel Jesus do in those earlier moments of the 22-23 season was mind-boggling. It was insane. I remember that game against Crystal Palace, obviously, Bournemouth, against Aston Villa he scored, against Man United. I don't care what any United fans say, he cooked Lisandro Martinez in some moments. I then remember the game against Brentford. I remember the game against Spurs. I remember the game against Southampton. Of course, he missed some chances. I remember the game against Leeds where Arsenal were downright terrible, but Gabriel Jesus still had some really good moments. I remember the game against Wolves. We were really trying hard to break them down and we couldn't. Jesus came out to the left wing. Martinelli rotated with him. He found Fabio Vieira, who found Martin Odegaard, and he scored. He opened up the scoring thanks to the movement of Gabriel Jesus in some part. And then it was the World Cup. Arsenal fans, I felt on top of the world with our team at that time. I felt like Gabriel Jesus was genuinely the GOAT. I was saying to people on Twitter at the time, I felt so lucky when Gabriel Jesus joined Arsenal. Jesus was insane. And then the World Cup happens and he picks up a 4-month knee injury. Now, obviously, we were still top without him. We signed Leandro Trossard in the winter transfer window that kind of steadied the ship. And then, obviously, Gabriel Jesus came back. He played against Fulham. He missed a chance, but he was still picking up goals. He scored 2 against Leeds. He scored a great header at Anfield. He had a good game against Liverpool. He scored against West Ham. And then I feel that when it comes to Jesus' reputation at Arsenal, that was the ceiling and that was the peak. And then what happened afterwards? It was just disappointment after disappointment, because in the 2023 summer window, we obviously signed Kai Havertz, and with Jesus, I think he picked up a knee injury, his first of many at Arsenal, by the way. Oh, sorry, his second of many whilst playing at Arsenal. And he kind of missed like a big portion of preseason. And then he came back. He was slightly overweight. I still remember against Man United when he came onto the pitch, I was like, damn, this guy's looking bolo. And then obviously he scored that goal against Diogo Dalot. He was still there. The qualities of him were still there, right? And even though he wasn't performing in the league, he wasn't scoring too many goals, it was still in the Champions League where he was cooking. He scored against PSV, he scored against Lens, he scored against Sevilla in what was a really, really good performance. And then afterwards, I remember he scored against Brighton in the Premier League. He then scored against Nottingham Forest in between another knee injury setback. And then after that moment, after that goal against Nottingham Forest, I was like, what on earth happened to Gabriel Jesus? The guy literally fell off a cliff, and I don't even mean when it comes to his on-ball work. I don't even mean when it comes to him in front of goal, because one of the biggest criticisms about Jesus with fans across the world is, oh, this guy doesn't score enough. But when you look at Jesus at his best, the amount of football this guy generates is quite frankly insane. Where Jesus fell off was his physicality. It was his physical game that fell off a cliff completely. The guy wasn't dueling. His body language wasn't there. He didn't want to go into tackles. Maybe it was fear, maybe it was confidence. But when Jesus isn't there physically, he is just a net negative for the club. He isn't winning any duels. He isn't winning any battles. He isn't doing anything on the pitch because obviously he isn't a player that can just score. He's a player that needs a lot of rhythm. One of the biggest things that he adds to our team is that ability to go through the middle. The ball comes to him, it sticks, and we're able to play off him. The problem is when he's physically not there, he's not quick enough to get in front of the defender to make the ball stick. The ball bounces off him, his touch isn't there, he gets overpowered by defenders. And I'm like, if this guy is continually playing like this, please ship him off to Palmeiras. And then it takes me back to why this guy is so frustrating. Gabriel Jesus is so frustrating because that game against Crystal Palace yesterday, it's in him, it's there. And I don't even mean the goals, I mean physically. If he's able to trap the ball, if he's able to turn and turn and turn, and if he's able to kind of find his way out of small pockets and run at the defender, this is when Jesus is at his peak, and this is what we directly need at Arsenal. We need moments plays. We need X-Factor, and I said it in the summer on my Twitter. We only have 2 X-Factor players at the club. It's Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus has not been there for most of this season so far, so it's only been Bukayo Saka, and we've seen the numbers he's been putting up all season. With Gabriel Jesus, if he can be there physically, not goals-wise, physically, he will add a completely different element, and he's part of Arsenal's biggest problem right now in terms of accessing the center of the pitch. If Gabriel Jesus can give us 10-15 games like that a season, of course you want more, but we have to be realistic. This guy is not going to stay fit for much longer. He's probably going to pick up, I don't wish an injury upon him, but knowing him, he's probably going to pick up an injury quite soon. So if he can give us 10 or 15 of these games a season where he's able to trap the ball, protect it, shield it against defenders. This is South American football. This is what South American forwards do. Not really Gabriel Martinelli, but if he can do that, if he can really add that level to our team, who knows how far Arsenal can go this season. In that last video, I was very, very doom and gloom. I was saying to myself, this guy needs to go to Palmeiras. He's done. He's cooked. Like against Everton, when he came onto the pitch, I was like, this guy is a shadow of his former self. Against Fulham, his body language was so bad. It was so bad. And then you look at Jesus against Crystal Palace and you know that's there. But how do you incentivize him? How do you motivate him? How does Arteta as a leader put Gabriel Jesus in the position where he feels like he can add to the team? He feels that he's an important star, because earning £295,000 a week, I think he's the highest paid player at Arsenal. If he can give us that on a regular basis, again, I'm not talking goals. If he misses chances, fine, we'll get a striker, fine. But if he can give us those moments where we can pass through the middle of the pitch, he makes the ball stick, he can play other players into the game. Think of how many other players will benefit of Jesus. It's Marino, it's Martinelli, it's Saka, it's Odegaard, it's all of these players. Havertz too. You can play Havertz deeper and he can run into the positions that Jesus vacates. It's all of these different things that add to what Arsenal can be. But unfortunately, at the moment, we can't rely on Jesus. So for me, if it was up to me and someone put a gun to my head and say, look, you can sign Matheus Cunha in January, I would absolutely do that. But it's very unrealistic of that happening. So if Arsenal can do it, please, Jesus, I ask for 6 more months. Brother, I'm asking for one more favor. 6 more months of Gabriel Jesus. Just being there physically. I don't mean in front of goal, I just mean there physically, and the sky's the limit for this Arsenal team, because he solves a big problem that no other player can really solve in this Arsenal team. That's why Gabriel Jesus is the most frustrating player ever. You know it's there, you know the quality is there, but how can we get it out of him? That's the question for Mikel Arteta. Us as fans, we just have to support the players, whether you like Odegaard, you don't like Odegaard, you like Trossard, you don't like Trossard. We just have to support the team at this point. And that's all I have to say. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll be back tomorrow with yet another video talking about Arsenal, talking about something else that's gone on in the world of football. And yeah, I'll see you very soon. Take care.